Midnight Swan is here. Tonight, we're going to fall asleep while listening to What If Marcus Was Bella's Forgotten Love. Part 2. Let's move to the video. Bella's POV. Marcus. I hesitantly called out, beyond embarrassed to be returning with my metaphorical tail between my legs, my face red as I searched for a way out from this unthought of an undesired situation. Can you come in? I requested, hoping that he would still be out in the corridors, or I would be forced into another one of those situations wherein I would have to search him through the castle. My last such attempt at bravery not going so very well. Marcus, are you there? Please be there. Pretty please be there. Bella. I let out a sigh of relief, shutting my eyes tight. Nay. Veer having been gladder for his presence. Can you come in? Okay. He slowly drawled the word out, pushing open the door to my bedroom, as he came to stand in front of me, his hands in his pant pocket as he waited for me to continue. Nervousness and discomfort dripping from him in buckets. Why was this so hard? I simply needed his help. This shouldn't be that hard to admit. Actually, I pushed a strand of hair behind my ear. I need your help. There, I said it. Anything, he stated, offering me a brief nod. I smiled, acknowledging his gesture. I am aware that I said that I don't need anyone's help in getting ready. But here's the thing, I have no clothes on me, or makeup, or fancy heels, or even a basic comb. I left everything back at the hotel. I needed my things. I wasn't prepared to let go of everything I owned. Oh, Marcus mumbled. Yes, I understand how that would be a problem. Yeah, I agreed with him. So, can I go to the hotel and get my stuff? I would need to check out, too. Also, maybe, I could place a call to Martha, stating to her that I was quitting my job. It wouldn't help. I couldn't disclose the actual truth to her. I was stuck in this mess now. For how long, I don't know. But at least I could get in a decent sign-off. I wasn't willing to just murder myself or pretend to be missing from the face of the earth, refusing to be that innocent tourist who never returned home. Yeah, that really wasn't happening. Either, I could keep all contact with the few friends I had back home through social media or in some way that protected my privacy yet gave me the freedom to not cut ties, or I was given full choice in how I cut contact with them. I would need to talk to Marcus about this. I could accept that their kind had rules for such stuff. But the final decision would remain mine. Oh, Marcus gulped, looking away from me. Actually, oh, come on. I rolled my eyes in annoyance. You just promised that you wouldn't lock me up in a tower. And I won't, he hastily admitted. I promise I will never steal your free will from you in that manner. Then, I folded my arms over my chest in defiance, waiting to hear his defense. Bella, he sighed, my kind has rules. Yes, I am fully aware of that. He frowned, nodding his head softly. I am extremely sorry and I wish it wasn't so, but you cannot keep contact with anyone back in your previous world. We cannot afford it. The repercussions would be too much to bear. You can't be serious. I spat the words out, glaring at him. I just want to go to get my bags from the hotel. That is not too much to ask. Last I checked, yes, he admitted, but we can't leave any traces behind. You have gone missing, and like it happens for all the other victims, Felix and Alec will make your records disappear too. You will never have traveled to Volterra, there will be nothing to prove otherwise. Your belongings, they will simply disappear. And that is for the best. Look, I glared at him, enraged to be at the receiving end of this unbelievable conversation. I am not one of the other victims. Unfortunately, Bella. I waved him off. Marcus, I need my things. This is simply undebatable. We can buy new things. Whatever you want, just name it. I will ask Heidi to get it for you. You know what, just fuck off. I blurted out, storming out of the room, too livid to even see his face at the moment. How dare he? How could he even suggest something of this sort? I wasn't his prisoner, and I would rather die than become one. I was still surprisingly willing to give this mating business a try. But my free will was not something I was ever willing to compromise on. I refused to become a mere puppet at his hands. I was braver than the other wives. If he wanted me in his life, he would have to come midway for me. I wouldn't be the only one on the giving end of this spectrum. And while we are at the topic, I wasn't going to live in this dungeon for the rest of my eternity. Yeah, not happening. Arrow may have been Didym's brother, and this may have been her family. But it wasn't mine, and I would rather make this fact very clear early on itself. Marcus was. Argyll was so furious at his audacity at the moment. How could he? I don't know for how long I walked, my feet leading me to some place unknown, fueled by fury and disbelief, but when I finally decided to stop. A beautiful tulip garden met my eyes, the flowers pink, red, yellow and white, shining bright as they smiled in delight. Wow, I muttered, mesmerized by the sight that my eyes witnessed. Beautiful, isn't it? I abruptly turned, a frown on my face, as I rose an eyebrow awaiting the female vampire in front of me to continue speaking. Whenever I am conflicted, I prefer to surround myself in the serenity of these tulips. Okay, and I am conflicted today, too. Someone very close to me, who I consider an almost sister, has found the one person who could replace my place in her life. And while I am happy for her, the death of that someone had destroyed her completely, I can't help but be a little jealous. I have no friends in this castle. No one apart from her. Not even my husband bothers to see my face. Not unless he desperately craves to get intimate. And even then, he would rather acquire a release from Jane than spend 10 minutes in my company. She nonchalantly finished speaking, expressionless from the start to end. Athenadora. I raised an eyebrow in question, hesitantly putting forward my guesswork based on her familiar monotone, Marcus having referred to her in passing. But wasn't she locked up in the tower? What was she doing here then? Yes, she shyly admitted, proving my suspicions correct, her powdery skin and mid-back length fair hair shining under the light of the sun. As she gazed at me unwaveringly. And you are Bella? Yes, I answered, even though it wasn't a question. She already knew who I was. Someone Sulpicia had already told her about me. Geez. And this is exactly why I had not wanted anyone to know about me. Damn you, Marcus. Sulpicia is ecstatic, she continued, me not so much. Excuse me. While I could appreciate frankness, this was borderline rude. She smiled, waving me off. I am no threat, to you or to anyone, for that matter. Living with Keys for as long as I have, has drained me off completely. I know Inger have the energy or the will in me to fight. And probably, Arrow and Keys are well aware of this. We, the wives, are helpless. Our husbands have made sure of that. We need Corin to help us survive. Without her, I can't even imagine existing. We are that dependent on her, and on our husbands. Help us, Bella, she softly pleaded. Get us out of here. You are the only one who can. Marcus isn't like our husbands, he is gentle and caring. He will support you. He will be on our side. Please help us. Didym would have, but, I frowned, my eyes wide as I contemplated her words. Was she asking me to rebel? Look, I really don't want to get involved in any of this. Why should I? And even if I do want to help you out, there is no possible way for me to do so. I am just human. Not for long now, she muttered. Bella, Didym had made us a promise. She was killed before she could do us justice. I have my suspicions on who killed her. What do you mean? The Romanians killed her. She waved me off, smiling in that all-knowing way. Yes, that is what the world is told to believe. But, I have no proof. She interrupted me, regret visible in her eyes. And hence I am forced to accept this bunch of lies. Irrespective, you have to fulfill her last promise. You owe this to her. You owe this to us. Excuse me, I stared at her. I don't owe anything to anyone. I did not even know the woman. She was long dead before my lineage began. I wasn't going to waste my time working on some promise that she had made. She was dead, and with her the promise died too. Athenadora simply smiled, her black eyes relentless as they met mine. Come searching for me when you are finally willing to accept your destiny. I will be waiting for you. This isn't my destiny, I shouted at her retreating form. And you will be waiting for the rest of eternity for me to come at your doorstep. No. Just no, I wasn't Didym, and I wasn't going to play house like she had. That was just not me. Bella, what now? I turned, a wide frown on my face, Marcus being the recipient of my fury. Not that he didn't deserve it. I am sorry, he gulped, coming to stand beside me. I should have been more sympathetic. Look, I waved him off. I am not in the mood for bullshit. Either you let me go back to the hotel to get my stuff, or just get out of my sight. I don't want to hear your stupid excuses. I am already having a massive headache. Just don't add to it. Okay, he added after a tired pause, staring at me like that cute little dog who craves the touch. And don't look at me like that. I wasn't willing to melt this soon. Okay, he repeated. I am sorry. I waved him off, nursing my headache, the one left behind by Athenadore's baseless words. Just tell me your pick. Yes, he admitted, not an inch of hesitance in his tone. Yes, you can go back to your hotel to gather your belongings. What, are you sure? Yes, he let out a sigh. I apologize for being selfish earlier. I was thinking only from the perspective of a leader, and not from one of a mate. Please forgive me. We will go and get your things from the hotel. You don't need to pretend to be missing. We will find another way out. One that you are comfortable with. Oh, I gulped, nodding my head in disbelief. I thank you. No need to thank me. He waved me off. I should have been more understanding. It's okay, I smiled. And I should have been more tolerating and willing to listen. But we will learn together. He reciprocated my smile, nodding his head in agreement. I will make the arrangements for us to leave the castle. Would you be comfortable with Dimitri and Felix accompanying us? I cannot leave the castle unguarded, and once the news of you being my mate spreads, neither can you. That wouldn't be a problem. I offered to come midway, knowing that this wasn't an easy decision for Marcus to make. Yet, he was doing this for me. The least I could do in return was to be a little more cooperative. Okay, he offered his hand for me to take, leading me back towards my room, the two of us unknown of the figure standing in the shadows, having heard our entire conversation, and not the least bit pleased by it. Bella's POV. So, is this all? Marcus questioned, the last of my bags being dumped into the trunk of Dimitri's Cadillac, said person in question too shocked to do anything other than gape at me with his mouth wide open. In all these centuries of knowing and living with Marcus, no one, and I repeat no one, had witnessed Marcus talk as much as he now did, or asked for a car to take a step outside the castle. It was an enigma to witness, or so I had come to believe. As the times had passed, most of the Volturi had invested in cars, bikes, anything and everything that the humans discovered. The castle was well lit with lamps and shades, the structure being centrally air-conditioned, and almost all of them owned cell phones, too. All but Marcus. Marcus had never bought, haired to keep up with the changing times. He had not a clue of the latest fashion trends, or even what something as basic as anesthesia was. He just had not cared enough to read the news, or invest in a television when it was finally invented. And so, watching him observe a laptop had been part hilarious and part sad. He had simply stared at it, jumping at his place in disbelief when it had powered up. Unable to believe that humans no longer needed to read several different books in order to attain a simple answer to an unfamiliar question. We had the internet easily accessible for that. Though, from what Dimitri had mumbled under his breath, not everyone in the castle was this technology challenged. Arrow and Keys owned personal laptops, iPads, and wireless AirPods too, Wi-Fi connection being installed in their private chambers. Though, I still hold by my stand that what purpose would a vampire have with the electronic gadgets of the human world? Weren't they above all this materialistic greed? They should be. Bella. I stared at Marcus, realizing a second too late that he was still waiting for my answer, smiling in idiocy. Sorry. Yup, that would be it. I had not carried anything more with me. Marcus hummed in agreement, shutting the trunk of the car, signaling Dimitri an instruction too low for my human ears. My eyes narrowed as I observed him sit on the driver's seat and drive away. What? My stuff? I gaped in incoherence, my eyes following Dimitri's car as it left the driveway of the hotel I had been staying in. Where was Dimitri driving off with all my belongings? Was this some cruel, unnecessary trick, to let me retrieve my luggage, only to watch Dimitri ride away to sunset with it? Bella. Marcus calmly smiled, his fingers drawing circles on my arms. The touch soothing and instantly pacifying. Dimitri is driving back to the castle. He will drop your bags in your room. I would have offered to have Heidi organize your wardrobe for you, but I believe you would not take to that very kindly. Yeah, I offered him a shrug, partly relieved to know that my belongings were not being mercilessly stolen. It would feel weird to have someone I don't even know go through all my stuff. Anyhow, I thought Dmitri was our ride back home. He was. Marcus sighed. Until I changed the plan, that is. Oh, I gulped, taking in his words. So, what's the new plan? Were we not going back to the castle? I would, not so surprisingly, be rather glad if it were so. But then why send my luggage there? What sense would that make? I want to court you. Yes, I am fully aware of that. I cheekily smiled. I may be human, but I could boast of a pretty decent memory. Marcus smiled back, shaking his head briefly. What I meant is, if it is suitable to you, we could go on our date today. Okay, right now. What? I expressionlessly stared at him. You want our date to kickstart right at the moment. Kick what? He looked terribly confused, probably having never heard that word before. By that, if you mean that I want our courtship period to instantly commence, then yes, you would be correct. Geez. I rolled my eyes in response to his expressionless admission. I don't think I can successfully match your level of excitement. It seems unattainable. Oh, those two letters held an unimaginable weightage, as he looked away from me, a bill. Ion emotions crossing his face all in the span of the next 5 seconds. Gosh, what had I been thinking? The man did not understand the common lingo. Sarcasm was a land of the unknown. Marcus, I smiled. I was kidding. Oh, but, I waved him off. I am very excited for our date. I am really looking forward to it. Oh, that's good. His face instantly lit up, an unfamiliar spark visible in his eyes. Of course, I let out a laugh, shaking my head to myself, a newfound calmness settling over the two of us. So, Mr. Marcus Volturi, where are you taking me on this date today? A theater. I gaped in question, turning to glance at him. Do vampires too believe in the movie date theory for the first date? I was trying hard not to be disappointed. But come on, a movie. I wasn't 12. Movie date theory. He looked confused, as was expected. I shrugged in response. Preteens they often tend to see a movie together on their first date. It is just convenient, probably, I guess. Personally, I did not see the charm in seeing a movie together. There would be no proper conversations, the sound playing in the background too loud to permit that. And, more importantly, we were not hormo-ridden 13 and 14-year-olds. There would be no making out in the dark. But if Marcus had planned for us to see a movie together, I could tolerate it with a smile. I guess he had put in the effort, and I would rather not see him sad. Oh, Marcus blinked. Had you ever? Yeah, I hesitantly admitted. It was pretty common back then. And pretty shitty, if you ask me. Oh, Marcus nodded his head to himself. I am aware of the concept of cinema. Many in the castle were affected by its uniqueness when it was first invented. But never have I thought of indulging in the activity. Okay, I smiled briefly. You make it sound like a disease. It can be addictive, he wildly protested. I chuckled in agreement. So, is this the day of the firsts? You know, first date with me, first time watching a movie. We are watching a movie. He looked somehow puzzled by my sentence. How? Yeah, I stared at him. Isn't this why you got me here? We were standing outside a movie theater. What else was I supposed to assume? Oh, Marcus's booming laugh resounded through the air. This isn't. Cue the endless chuckles. You really thought? No. I sarcastically smiled, his guffaws refusing to stop anytime soon. Take all the time you need. I am so not offended. His laughs vanished all of a sudden, as he attempted to hide his smile. Come on in. The name, Roman Theater, is often misleading. You will understand. Okay then. I took a step ahead, following him in through the narrow door, my eyes wide as I observed that contrary to what I had initially assumed, this wasn't a movie theater. Heck, it wasn't even a complete structure. It was simply an endless open land, created on a slope, greenery adorning it in his shiny coat, a few stairs of limestone littered in the path. Possibly to sit on random names engraved, as the person admired the few stone pillars carved with precision. It looked broken, or maybe, never fully constructed. Time has not been kind to the structure. Marcus sighed, looking ahead. They did attempt to make it reusable a few decades ago, but alas, they could achieve nothing more than a tag of an archaeological site not many would bother to visit. Oh, I gulped, looking around me with renewed eyes, the lack of public around no longer a point of discussion. It seems pretty. No, the last thing anyone could call these ruins would be pretty, or beautiful, or worth wasting hours in. Sure, it was good for a photo or two, or if you were a huge history buff. But for a first date idea, this was a big no-no. Interesting. Yes, I would have to settle for the word interesting. Marcus must have put some thought into bringing me here. I could not break his heart. Marcus laughed, surprising me. They hold events here. Okay, we are here to see a performance. A play, if you could say. Oh, yeah, Marcus smiled. I had to pull in a few strings. There were no events coming up in the next few weeks. But they agreed to perform for just the two of us. At a small price, of course. Oh, what are we seeing today? A new ray of excitement lit up in my eyes. I liked watching plays. They were interesting, and so uncommon these days. Marcus smiled, taking my hand in his as he led me towards the topmost stair, the two of us settling down as a few humans made their presence known, greeting Marcus with a genuine smile. Bella, Marcus whispered in my ear. I know you don't like being compared to Didymus, and I get it. Had I been in your place, probably it would have upset me too, to be constantly analyzed in such manner. Why are you bringing this up right now? I stared at him. Why was he so keen on ruining the good mood? Marcus let out a sigh, wincing. The thing is, Didymus was not just a part of my life, she was my very life. After she left me in this world, nothing seemed interesting or worth admiring. I stopped going out of the castle. I stopped painting, or indulging in any other hobby. I just stopped living. I gave up. But contrary to what I had believed, the world did not stop adapting to the changing times. Time did not stop moving, just because I no longer had the wish to survive. It kept moving. Things changed. New inventions were discovered. Clothes, languages, the dietary tastes of humans, everything changed with time. What had once been a sight to witness turned into a ruin, the passing time sparing no one. I took Marcus's hand in mine, squeezing it tight. What I am trying to say is, Bella, will you experience all what I have lost with me? How? What? I stumbled over my words, my mind blank as I pondered over what he could mean by that. How could I experience the gone-by era with him? Was something like this even possible? Unless you watched a historical movie or read a book concentrated on said period. It was impossible to get a feeling of how things had been back then. Oh, the word left my mouth all of a sudden, realization settling in. The play is on. Yes, he smiled, squeezing my hand tight. I want to start living again. Not just surviving, but actual living. And in order to do so, I need to fill in the gaps. I need to witness all what I have missed. This play revolves around the era gone by. It takes us back to Volterra in 1398, letting us experience the 14th century Tuscany. I know this is not similar to what humans do on their first date, but with me not eating human food. I waved him off, smiling. It is something new, something not many would bother to think of. It is nice. Are you sure? He confirmed. If you wish to do something else. No, I shook my head in surety. I would like to watch this play. I have never been much of a history lover, but I like listening to stories. Marcus smiled back, relieved, motioning the performers to start their performance. Ladies, knights, artisans, merchants, nobles, peasants, musicians, jugglers, monks and doctors greeting us, as they celebrated the life of the 14th century Tuscany, the two of us sitting on the edge of our seat. Our eyes fixated on the captivating scene ahead. Marcus wrapped his arm around my shoulder sometime during the juggling act, with me letting my head rest on his shoulder. A sigh of utter relief escaping my lips, as we relished in the comfort and serenity of this moment. This wasn't like one of your typical dates, but as I had come to realize, with Marcus nothing would be the expected and assumed. I would get used to the charms of this newness. Probably. Marcus's POV. Marcus, Arrow firmly ordered. I need to talk to you. Please come to my chambers. Urgently. I let out a sigh, having heard his whisper resound through the corridors, yet bold enough to pretend like I hadn't heard it. He knew I was busy. What could be this urgent to devise a command? Bella and had just returned back to the castle after a beautiful date, my hand in hers as she reminisced the good parts of the play, an unfamiliar sparkle in her eyes. Though, to be fair, the entire play was flawless and beyond perfect. Anyhow, Bella and I were currently occupied in a lovely conversation, and everyone in this castle could hear that. Including Arrow, hence proving my point. There was nothing worthy of disturbing me. Marcus, it is urgent, Arrow repeated, a finality in his tone. I winced, shutting my eyes briefly. Seems like I had no choice in the matter. Arrow was determined, and he would not give up until he got what he wanted. Atypical for him. Bella, I smiled, my beautiful maid looking up at me with those doe-like eyes of hers, a question evident in them. I have to go. Arrow has requested for my presence. Oh, she murmured, giving it a thought. Is it anything serious? I shrugged, shaking my head slightly. Probably not. Arrow is prone to dramatics. Ignoring the scowl that NDED from the direction of Arrow's chambers, I concentrated on the laughing face of my mate. She was gorgeous, her skin sparkling as happiness radiated from every pore of hers, the fact that she was an ointment to my ailing wound, a wound that Didym's demise had permanently cursed me with. It had been uncovered and burning for all this while, now finally blessed with some relief. Okay then, I will let you be. Bella smiled. I will be in my room. If you need me. Are you sure? I hesitated. I can postpone my conversation with Arrow. He would understand. It would be tough to convince the man. Similar to hitting your head in a brick wall. But nothing was more important than Bella. Arrow would just have to learn to deal with it. Marcus, I am not 5. Bella amusedly stated. I can keep myself engaged for 10 whole minutes, without irreparably damaging anything in the process. You go and do your masterly duties. Don't worry about me. I offered her a tender smile, acknowledging her gesture. If you are sure. Of course, I am. She waved a hand in air. I will now walk back to my room, thinking of something to do to pass the time. Just make sure no one decides to munch on me like that tempting afternoon snack between meals. She finished with a wink. No one would dare to. I promised her, and simultaneously commanded every member of the guard in hearing distance. He had no clue of why Bella was as important, but knew enough not to think of her as a quick meal, or someone to treat as a mere human. She was much more important than that. Good to know. Bella nodded her head to herself, turning in the direction of her room, and beginning to walk. I stared at her retreating form till she was out of sight, my dead heart heavy from the temporary separation forced upon us. Surely, I was aware that we weren't conjoined and would have to complete our individual chores, being physically separated for the meanwhile. But I need not like it. With one last sigh, I turned in the direction of Arrow's chambers, my feet heavy as I anticipated what this could be about. Yes, Arrow, I expressionlessly stated, barging into his chambers, the man in question seated on his high desk chair. A bunch of papers lying in front of him. You requested for my presence. He let out an out-of-place chuckle, shaking his head to himself. You were mistaken, Marcus. I did not request for your presence, I commanded it. The prideful grin on his face was rather offensive, yet I ignored it, well aware that my brother did not mean it. Arrogance was his flaw, and being his older brother, I could ignore it at times. He would learn with time. What is this about? I came straight to the point. I have places to be. Oh, yes. I am aware. He dramatically pouted. The man who had no work to do for more than a millennium is now too busy to even have a short conversation with his brother. How the times have changed. I let out a sigh, running a hand over my forehead. So, this was how he was going to play. I pulled the spare chair in the room towards me, seating myself on it. Now, you are the one mistaken, brother. I smiled, for I have all the time in this world to have a conversation with you. He looked pleased by my answer, grinning to himself. I wish for things to always remain so between us, no matter who enters our respective lives. I was no fool. I was well aware of the implications of his words. Or who in particular he saw as a threat, yet I ignored it. Arrow was an attention seeker, not easily accepting the concept that not all eyes would be on him at all times. He would get used to Bella's presence in our lives. Of course, brother, I assured him, the pleasure in his eyes guaranteeing that I had done the right thing. This could not be the only reason why you asked to see me. Of course not. He was quick to deny. I heard some scandalizing news, that while I don't believe in, would like you to clarify for me. Okay. I frowned. What news? He stared at the papers on his desk. Uncomfortable silence spreading throughout the room. You left the castle today. Yes, I did. I had no fear in admitting the truth. I did leave the castle. But that is not the problem here, is it? Even you and Keys leave the castle doors at times. Yes, we do, Arrow slowly admitted, as if swallowing a bitter pill. But not with our mates in tow. You took a risk today, and you are well aware of that. I scoffed in response. What did you expect me to do, Arrow? Lock her up in the tower like you and Keys did with your mates? Exactly. Arrow glared at me. We can not take the risk of anything happening to our mates. The last time we let them free, my sister and your mate was killed. Have you forgotten that? It devastated you, and hampered us enough to pull us back by a few centuries. We have several enemies out there, enemies that would cross any line to get back to us. Yes, I am well aware of that, I reluctantly admitted. The Romanians were our biggest enemy. The Egyptian coven a close second. Not to forget the several nomads out there training hard in the hope that they would one day come to defeat us. All of the above rather glad to discover a minor slip-up from our side. Then, Arrow demanded, having proven his point. I was safe. I protested. Volterra is safe lands. Arrow scoffed at that, rolling his eyes in disbelief. Didymu was attacked while in the castle. Yes, but that was different. How? Arrow scowled. How is that any different? I searched for a way out, finding none at the moment. I am not locking my mate up, Arrow. I hesitantly stated. She is my mate. Don't you want to keep her safe? Arrow played with my weak point. If something were to happen to her. Nothing will happen to her. I glared at him. I will make sure of that. Like you made sure that nothing happened to Didymu. Arrow. I spat the word out, enraged by his accusation. I was not aware of the threat back then. But now you are. Yes, I admitted. I am well aware that we have plenty enemies out there. And yet you agreed to your mate's childish demands to recover her luggage, exposing us and putting her own life at risk in the process. She wanted it. I frowned. I could not deny her. Arrow chuckled, shaking his head in amusement. Brother, take my advice and keep her safe. Our mates are essential to our success. I would rather not be a lifeless statue. Or see you again as one. I understand, but I will ask Corin to prepare a third room in the tower. He gently patted my back, walking out of the room, a protest at the tip of my lips, refusing to come out. I could not do this to her. She was my mate, my equal. It was just so wrong. But I had to keep her safe. If something were to happen to her, I would not survive a second time. Bella's POV. It was different with Marcus. He was attentive and caring, and I was on cloud 9. When I was with him, everything felt different, everything felt good, life felt worth living, a future I could almost look forward to. He made me happy. So very happy. I could not believe my luck that I had found someone like him in life. How did I get to be this lucky? What had I done to deserve him? I could almost see myself living to eternity with him. Our date had been magical and perfect and everything beautiful. I smiled to myself, shaking my head softly. What was wrong with me? Why was I swooning over him? I hadn't been before that one date of ours, but now everything felt different. Marcus had just shown me what our life together could look like, and maybe I wanted that. Yeah, I could admit this to myself that I wanted that. Who wouldn't want someone who was completely devoted to them and only them in their life? Who wouldn't want to be blissfully happy till the day the ground consumes them forever? Who wouldn't want a happily ever after without the risk of ever running into the bad days? I had seen my parents together, no more a misfit couple ever found before. I did not want such kind of a marriage, the arguments, the blame game, it was horrible, and so very painful. Their marriage had been one of the reasons why I did not believe in the constitution of marriage. It had destroyed my father completely, and left my harebrained mother so neurotic and wary of the opposite sex. She just could never trust another for the better part of her life. Sure, they had both moved on. But had they really? Renee, till I spoke to her, still complained about how Charlie had ruined her life in the brief few years of their togetherness, the wounds refusing to fill themselves. And Charlie had been no better. He would start grumbling and groaning every time Renee was even mentioned in passing. It had been almost pitiful to watch the two of them. It was clear that they hadn't been able to get a clear break from the other. I could not deal with that. I had no patience for it. If I was to do the whole marriage and being together till death do us part thing, then I needed surety. I needed to know that I wasn't making a mistake. That I wasn't going to regret my decision a week, month, year or decade in the future. Now, I was aware that life is unpredictable, and why? Oh, you really can't get a guarantee on such things. Even the happiest and most uncomplicated of couples have bad days. But I needed to know that my ship wasn't doomed from the port itself. I needed to be sure about Marcus and I. And our date today had helped. Definitely so. It had just shown me what my future could look like, a step taken in the correct direction. Now, I wasn't rushing to admit this to Marcus. Or to propose something as horrendous as us moving into the same room. But yeah, surely, I could propose a second date. I wanted to see where this goes. Bella. I looked up, startled, tenning my back as I ridded my face of any emotion, expressionlessly gazing at the intruder in my room, waiting to see what he wanted. I could not kick him out. He was the part owner of this castle, and hence, my room, too. I wanted to see you. You are currently seeing me, asshat. After all, my dearest sister's soul has reincarnated into you. He reminisced, a fond look in his eyes. A look that looked completely, so very, fake. I rolled my eyes in annoyance. Not this again. How many times did I need to clarify that I wasn't Didim? Did I need to get it tattooed on me before people began to take me seriously? 4. I was half tempted to do so. Now, Arrow added, still speaking for some unclear reason. I understand how you must be feeling. Do you? I raised an eyebrow in confusion. Of course, mio caro, he smiled. His overly sparkling white teeth out in display, causing me to take a step back in fear. Don't be scared. He waved a hand in air, his act seemingly pretentious. But maybe, that was just him. You don't need to be scared. Especially not of me. He grinned wide. Is it so? But that is not why I am here today. Why are you here then? I whispered the words out, apprehensive of his very being. Marcus had come to meet you. Oh, yes, he cheerfully admitted, clapping his hands in glee. He needs time to accept the inevitable. But I have faith that he will come. To see the benefit of my way rather soon. What is this inevitable? I forced the words out, staring at him, confusion swimming laps in my mind. What was he referring to? Why had he come here? And where was Marcus? He would never leave me alone with the man, not unless he had to. He was aware that I did not trust Arrow any more than a person could trust their worst enemy, or would prefer to be in his company. Not unless I had to. You, my dear, Arrow gloated, your future is the inevitable. Excuse me, did he just say that my future was the inevitable? How so? Marcus was not willing to understand this in the beginning. Arrow waved a hand in air, nonchalantly gazing at me, pretending like we were discussing over the weather. But I have faith that he now understands. Understands what? I did not recognize my own voice. It was such a scary whisper. That you need new friends. Okay, I already have enough friends. I firmly protested, looking up and meeting his eyes. He waved me off, treating me like that annoying pestering kid in the background. Your human life is irrelevant. All your ties as a human no longer matter. Why are you here, Arrow? I let out a sigh, deciding to come straight to the point. Is it to gloat over how my life has changed a 360 in such a short amount of time? 4. If it is so, you don't need to bother. I am mourning over it enough already. Arrow evilly chuckled, his head bobbing up and down in superiority. Oh dear, you call these changes. You have no idea what lies in your future. Excuse me, I gulped. Can you be any less cryptic? Maybe. Oh, Bella, he grinned, an eyebrow raised. I will definitely come to miss your spark. Sulpicia, too, had once been the wittiest and sharpest tool in the box. But off lately, Now, I couldn't blame her for that. Being locked in a dark room for centuries together. No, I gasped, my breaths harsh and quick, as a sudden thought made its way in my mind, shaking me completely. You can't do that to me. Marcus will never let you. He agrees with me. He smiled, winking. I don't believe you. You are lying. He had to be lying. I was grasping at straws here, but truly, Marcus wouldn't betray me in this manner. He had promised not to do so. He had assured me that he wouldn't lock me up in a tower. He couldn't go back on his word. I wouldn't let him. Oh, you, naive child, Arrow smirked. I will ask Corin to make the arrangements for your stay in the tower. And Sulpicia and Dora need to be given the good news, too. They will be elated to know that they will now have a new person to talk to. Oh, the joy. Don't worry about that, though, I love sharing good news. Why are you doing this, Arrow? I glared at him. What are you to gain from this? I wasn't a threat. I did not wish to be a threat. I did not want anything to do with any of them, least of all Arrow. I don't like change. He stubbornly shrugged. It makes me insecure, and I detest being insecure, willing to do anything to change that status. I am willing to leave. I pleadingly offered, my waving depicting my misery. You will never see me again. Just don't. Too late for that now. He offered me one last shrug, walking out of the room. My feet disappointing me, as I fell to my knees, unable to believe that Marcus would betray me in such a manner. No, Arrow had to be lying. He just had to. There had to be an explanation for this. I wasn't getting locked up in some creepy tower for the rest of my life. I refused to, and I was willing to fight for my freedom. Why are you sitting in the dark? Marcus pushed open the door to my room, walking in. His sturdy form hardly visible in the lack of the light. Is anything wrong? You tell me that. I stared up at him, a humorless giggle leaving my lips. I don't understand, he hesitantly whispered. Of course, you don't. I rolled my eyes in response. I had a visitor today. Do you know something about this? No. Who? He looked confused. I couldn't tell whether he was genuinely this innocent, or if he was just pretending to be one. Frankly, till I didn't get clarity on this matter, Marcus couldn't be trusted. All progress made between us today had instantly been lost. In those few minutes that Arrow spoke to me, Marcus would have to earn my trust again, and he would have to prove Arrow wrong. Your brother, I scoffed, pointing out the obvious. He had good news to share with me. Oh, Marcus questioned. Arrow, he came to visit you. Yes, I agreed. He had something to tell me. Something he was rather happy sharing. Apparently, I am to be locked up in a tower for the rest of my life. And you have given your agreement for that. Bella. No, Marcus. I cut him off, anger shining through my eyes as I glared at him. Just don't. Either prove my conclusions wrong, prove that your brother is a big, fat liar, or get the fuck out of my room. I don't want to see your face. He winced, shutting his eyes tight, the tension in the room thick as H. He stared at me with those pleading eyes of his. I am sorry. I don't fucking care about your sorry. I spat the words out at him, glaring in anger and disappointment. Keep it to yourself. For now, just get out. Please understand. What the fuck, Marcus? What do you even want me to understand? You were planning to lock me up in a tower. You had promised not to. I have no other choice. He stuttered. I can't lose you. I can't. What happened with Didim? Sadly, you have lost me already. I humorlessly chuckled, shaking my head. Until you gain some sense, I don't want to see your face. Please don't. He begged. You are my mate. Yes, and the day you realize this, I will talk to you again. Now, if you will leave me alone. I all but pushed him out of the room, falling to my knees, as my tears refused to stop. This couldn't be happening to me. No, Marcus would soon come to his senses, mending his ways and proving Arrow wrong. Yes, I had to keep hope. I had no other choice but to. Bella's POV. I knew I was doomed the exact second two scary-looking goons, guard members, knocked on my room door, a message clear in their eyes. They did not wait an extra second then, my meager belongings were picked and I was asked to play nice and follow, a threat evident in their tone. They did not need to speak it out loud. One wrong move and I would be pulled by the hair to my destination. And so, having no other choice in the matter, I followed, feeling like that hardened criminal being taken to prison. And in a way, I was being subjected to my very own jail. I couldn't leave. I couldn't use the free will that nature had granted me with. I had to adhere to the rules of someone else, my life no longer being mine. What other than prison could this even be? Though, One good thing out of all this bad sea. There is one rather bleak silver lining even in this shitty mess was that Marcus could no longer be trusted. And I now knew that. He did not deserve my trust, or my attraction to him. He was simply a spineless man who did not have the guts to oppose his family even when they were wrong. Probably, he knew of them being wrong, yet could do nothing about it. And in my eyes, that made him a coward. There had been potential for us to be something, I can't deny. But after this shit that he had pulled, all chances were now out of the window. There could never be an us, not. Unless he mended his ways and became a man. And at the moment, that seemed rather unlikely. But coming back to the point, I couldn't escape from here. It was not even a possibility. I was surrounded by vampires. They would know as soon as I even took one step out, and with Marcus protecting me as he had for these past few days, all eyes would needless to mention be on me. So, that was out. I did not even know any other vampires who could come to my rescue. Oh, no, I could not contact Charlie. Not that I even had any way to contact him. But irrespective, he was out. I really did not wish his or that snake of a wife of his's to come to my rescue. But would that be so bad? I mean, they were a mighty big clan. The Cullens were themselves 7, add to that Tanya, Charlie and Tanya's family. And they could successfully manage to get me out of here. But the point here was, would they even help? And even if they agreed to, did I want their help? The answer to that was a big no. I did have some self-respect remaining in me. They had abandoned me, but as it seemed, I did not have much choice in the matter. I needed the help. I was just a human. I could not fight against vampires, and manage to win in that fight. And escaping this castle on my own capabilities seemed too far-fetched to even imagine. So, that left me with only one thing to do: find a way to reach Charlie. And once I found him, convince him to put his life at risk and rescue me from this dark dungeon of sheer hell. Now, I am aware that the latter would be even more difficult in practical than in theory, but I had to try. I had no other option but to. I could not doom myself to such an existence. I wasn't living in a doorless prison for the rest of my life. Sacrificing my self-esteem the likelier choice. But how would I even find him? He had left me with no phone number or email ID to do so, deciding to take a clean break from everything human. In all these years, I had not been haunted by this fact, but it now seemed that there was a first for everything. Maybe I could try contacting the Forks police station in hope of finding him. Nah, if Charlie had cut ties with me of all, it was heavily unlikely. Why that he would have left such a huge trace behind. Anything that could locate him was out of question. And contacting the police station and proclaiming that he was missing would do me far bad than good. Who knew? Maybe I would end up pissing that clan off to the point of no return. Now, while I would have taken humor out of that scenario earlier, things had changed now. I needed their help, and hence, I would have to behave. So, now what? Walk straight, the goon ordered, a scowl emitting his lips, as he glared at me in disapproval and apparent show of masculinity. You do know that I am not a criminal, right? I inquired, the widening of his scowl being my only response. Whatever, I want to talk to Arrow, I declared to the other goon, needing to convince the man that I was innocent. I had no plans to steal his legacy position, whatever the fuck he was so concerned about. For all I cared, I wanted to keep as much distance between him and I as could be, refusing to ever be in that EP creepster's presence if given a choice. Why couldn't he understand this then? I was not Diddum. I had no interest in being Diddum. Or acting like this was my house, and he was my brother. Nope. No can do. I was rather glad to be a tourist in this castle and town. I did not want the power, or the money, or the position that came with being a leader of a kind. I just wanted my freedom. Was that too much to ask for? Goon cruelly chuckled. Master Arrow has better work to do than to entertain strays. I could get you an appointment with Master Keys, if you prefer. He finished with a wink. Are that no sane person in their complete senses would give their approval to this ridiculously illogical suggestion of his. Yeah, no thanks. I waved him off, a sigh leaving my lips. What now? I had no interest in talking to Marcus. He had betrayed me, and he was spineless. Talking to him solving no purpose of mine. Arrow refused to talk to me, or so his goons preached. And keys, it was laugh were. They'd even imagine convincing him that I was innocent. I would rather hope for aliens to pop up and start dancing in the middle of Central Park. That's still more likely than believing to have his support. So, yeah, Corin will escort you from here. Goon B pushed me in through a narrow door in a poorly lit underground tunnel. Nothing but darkness surrounding me as I fell into the cold arms of something or rather someone. Jerking back in fear. Sorry, there is no light installed in the tower. The masters don't believe it to be necessary. A firm voice stated, grabbing my arms harshly. Excuse me now. Candles, I hesitantly suggested. No, not needed. The dark figure repeated. We are vampires. We can see in the dark. But I was not a vampire. I could not see in the dark. How was I supposed to navigate my way through the tower then? I can't see anything, I whispered, pleading to the seemingly invisible stranger. In my defense, I could only hear voices around me, incapable of seeing anyone's face. It was pitch dark in here. I will talk to the masters about your concern. The same female voice, Corin I assume, repeated in mastered nonchalance. Yeah, you do so. Gentlemen, she spoke to the goons. Thank you for your help. I will take her from here. Master Marcus will visit her every third day. Goon A declared. All arrangements will need to be made. What the hell, had I lost my free will already? Marcus wasn't visiting me, I wasn't letting him enter my room. And they will be, as they always are. Corin seemed offended by his insinuation. Now, if you could proceed. I need to lock the doors behind you. You know the rules. No one but I have the keys to any door in this tower. Yes, we are aware. You don't need to keep repeating it every time we visit. Goon B scowled. We are leaving. Good, Corin stated, loud footsteps resounding through the underground tunnel, as my goons left me alone to face whatever now came in front of me, two cold hands coming to enclose my warm one in theirs. The owner of those hands not needing to introduce themselves. Sulpicia, Athenadora, I inquired in a whisper, my hands being squeezed in reassurance. We are here. One of them, I could not recognize which one, answered. We are here for you. She repeated. From now on, it is us three against the world. Yes, the other one too joined in. We will not leave a sister alone in this time of need. Whatever you need, we are here for you. In that case, I hesitantly began, testing my luck, I do need some help. I need to find someone. Someone who can rescue me and probably us. Bella's POV. Charlie Dad, I hesitantly whispered into the phone, a glance around me stolen as I ensured that no one had heard me utter that one dangerous word, scared beyond sanity that I would be caught in the act. But so far, luck seemed to be on my side. Belle, who's this? The question was unconvincing as a confused and slightly apprehensive. As expected, Charlie waited for me to respond. I was sure though that this was him talking to me. For one, Sulpicia had assured me that this was his contact number. Apparently, a few years ago Arrow had decided on creating a database. Hee-haw. D been concerned about the fact that he was clueless on who out there was a friend and who was an enemy, and hence needed a list of allies and ways to reach them in case required. Carlisle Cullen had been one of those to cooperate. He had quickly registered himself as a friend. Yes, there was a checkbox and all provided mentioning the contact details of everyone in his clan, email address included. He had then convinced his slightly apprehensive relative Tanya to do the same, which led to Arrow's database having a mention of Charlie's new phone number and email address. It hadn't been easy to get it out of there. Needless to point out, but Sulpicia had somehow managed. From what I had understood, she had bribed Arrow with sex, gross I know, stating how she wanted to talk to a long-forgotten friend. Needing Arrow to get the database to her bedroom for that purpose. Luckily, a laid Arrow was slightly more bearable and had only partially reluctantly agreed, Sulpicia quickly stealing Charlie's contact number from it when Arrow's attention was diverted selecting dirty lingerie for their next round. Geez, I am fully aware that I have too much information about their sex life. Anyhow, that was part of our plan. Part B including Athenadora stealing Corin's cell phone right from under her nose. Now, for the record, Corin wasn't allowed to get her phone out of her sight. The wives weren't privileged enough to have phones. But when was the vulnerable human going to come into play? Pretending to be sick surrounded by vampires who had not a clue of what human sickness looks like, was easier than even imagined. And before we knew it, Corin, who had been on her phone when I had forced myself to puke, was running through the tower corridors, needing Arrow's guidance on what to do with the sick human. Leaving her forgotten phone behind for us to grab and use. But we did not have much time with us. Sulpicia was keeping track of Corin's movements, and in case anyone entered the tower, while Athenadora stood guarding me. Leading me towards the one rare corner in this tower where sunlight filtered in, a tightly locked window being its source and my only ray of comfort these days. My request for artificial light had been approved, from what I had last heard, but was yet to be granted. And so, my days were spent under this dull, small window, as I waited to be rescued. "It's me, Dad," I wailed into the phone. "Please, I need your help." "Bella." He instantly sounded alarmed. "How did you get this number? Where are you right now? You shouldn't be calling me. It is dangerous." I had no other choice. I pushed the words out, waving my hands in desperation. "Dad, I have been taken captive. I need to get out of here. Please get me out of here. They will kill me." Haydn. The complete truth is not considered a lie, or at least I hope it is not considered one. A scary-sounding growl was emitted on the other side, Charlie speaking into the receiver before my nerves caused me to cut the call. "Who?" he demanded. "Who has kidnapped you? Where are you right now?" "I am in Italy." I winced, whispering the next word out. "Volterra." There was uncomfortable silence on the other end, as both of us pondered over how to continue with this conversation. "I know the truth, Daddy." Growing up, he had always melted when I had referred to him as Daddy. Could work now too, couldn't it? "What do you know, Bella?" "Hello to you, too, Tanya. How are you doing this fine day?" "Everything," I boldly muttered. "The Volturi have kept me captive. I am locked in the know." I couldn't say tower. They would get suspicious. "In the castle," I quickly finished my sentence. "Please, Tanya, I know that we have never really gotten along, but why have they kept you captive?" she rudely demanded. "The Volturi don't do such stuff." She needed to believe me. Charlie wouldn't believe me otherwise. And that could be a problem for me. I searched for a fake story, deciding to stick to the truth as much as could be. I caught one of them feeding. I guess the male vampire was super hungry or something, to do it in a dark alley in a semi-crowded area in Florence. Feeding was prohibited inside the town limits of Volterra. Thankfully, I had remembered that piece of information. He did not kill me directly. Instead, he drugged me and got me here. I am so scared. They have explained to me what they are. You are, but please get me out of here. I don't want to die. They will kill me. How did you figure out what I am? What will it take for you to believe me, Tanya? A fucking kidney. I put two and two together. I did live with you for a while. Now, that wasn't a lie. How did you get this number? Geez, how stone-hearted was she? I could not divulge in the truth, or give away any variation of that. Not without admitting that I had help from someone inside the castle. That's not important right now, Tanya. Charlie grabbed the phone back from her, anger coating his voice. I am coming, baby girl. Don't you worry, nothing will happen to you. But Daddy, I mock whimpered. There are so many of them. I am scared. We would need the Cullens too, and any and all help that we could manage. Don't you worry about that. He sighed, falling right into my laid trap. I have friends. We will come for you. Okay, Daddy, I trust you. Please come soon. He offered me his agreement. Ending the phone call, a wide smirk of achievement on my face as I deleted the call records from Corin's phone, leaving no trace of my betrayal behind. So, what if I had lied? I did not accept Marcus as my probable partner, not after this bullshit that he had pulled. And I needed to get out of here. Come what may. XXX. Bella. Marcus stomped through the tower, coming to a rough stop beside me. My one corner being a witness to our conversation. Corin informed me that you are unwell. Please talk to me. Can I arrange a doctor for you? Please tell me what I can do. The expression of sheer heartbreak on his face was upsetting, and hence, I looked away, unwilling to let the wall between us break. He had built this brick wall with his own two hands, and would now have to bear the consequences of it. Bella, please. he begged, kneeling down beside me. I shut my eyes tight, my stance clear. I wasn't ready to forgive him. Not now, and not ever. He would just have to deal with it. He should have thought of the repercussions before he locked me up in this windowless prison. It was too late now. The damage was done. The cloth was torn. It could probably be stitched again. But the scar would always remain. And at the moment, I wasn't even willing to get it stitched again. No, it was better off torn. He cried out, I am doing this for you. I am doing this for us. How, Marcus? How? Please trust me. I can't. Not after what you did to me. Okay. He let out a sigh, exhausted by my refusal to speak. I have to tell you something, but it better not be spoken out loud. He lowered his voice to a whisper. I have written it down. Please just read it. You will understand. He pushed a piece of folded paper in my direction, standing up and walking away. A frown on my face as I stared at his retreating form, half contemplating throwing the paper at him, my curiosity winning out as I unfolded the piece of paper, my eyes wide as I read through it. Bella, I know you don't believe me at the moment, but trust me, I am doing this for us. Blah, blah, blah. Arrow's rule needs to come to an end. His tyranny has survived for far too long now. Diddum had tried to convince me how dangerous his greed and desire for power could be, but I had not seen it back then. I now do. I had no other choice, Bella. When he had told me about locking you up in the tower, I had witnessed the lunacy in his eyes. If I hadn't complied, he would have sought any means possible to destroy you and us. I could not let that happen. I had to do this. And I am extremely apologetic for it. I have a plan in mind. It will take some time though. Please bear with me. I need to gain allies, ensuring that Arrow does not get a hint of it. That would not end well for us. I know I am asking too much from you. But please don't be angry on me. I will not be able to survive that. Please take care of yourself, and in case you decide that you still cannot forgive me for dooming you to this fate, I will understand. Marcus's. Oh, crap. Had I just complicated stuff for Marcus and I by calling Charlie here? Shit. What now? Charlie's POV. Can we believe her? I mean, what if she is lying? I turned to look at my wife. Appalled by her question, an eyebrow raised as I stared at her in absolute disbelief, having just ended the phone call, 100 plans to rescue my daughter running active in my mind. How could she even ask such a question, or have such an improbable doubt in mind? This was my daughter we were talking about. And let me be the first to tell you this, Bella was the most innocent, nice, caring and loving girl out there. She did not have a mean bone in her body, or one that could lie or deceive another. She wasn't lying. I don't believe she was capable of lying. Now, I am aware that all parents think their kids to be out of this world good, blaming the other kids at all possible times, their judgment heavily flawed. But I wasn't one of those, something I credited myself on being. I was an ex-cop. I could definitely tell the difference between right and wrong. And my Bella was the right. She wasn't lying. There was no doubt in my mind on this. Not a single one. But Charlie, Tanya continued to protest. She has contacted us after 5 whole years. Where was she for all this while? How did she even get your number? Nobody of your past life has it. And why contact us now? Don't you think it to be a little suspicious? My daughter has been taken captive, Tanya. I emphasized. She is helpless and scared. I don't care how she got my number. I am glad she did. It is not that easy. Charlie. Tanya waved a hand in air, desperately looking around her for support, the rest of our family having arrived down the stairs on hearing all the commotion. What Tanya means to say is, I instantly shut Elazar off with a glare, annoyed by him trying to act like my father, butting in and playing peacemaker when not invited to do so. I was 2 years older than him, for heaven's sake. It was amusing in the beginning when he tried to get all parental on me, but now it was simply annoying and dumb. And rather ridiculous. Elazar immediately shut up, thankfully taking the hint. I am not against her, Charlie, Tanya continued. But I have a right to be cautious, don't I? Of course, you do. I agreed with her. But this is my daughter we are talking about. She is family. I thought we are your family. Tanya muttered under her breath, a statement I knowingly ignored. I had no answer for it. I wasn't denying that her family was my family, but there would always remain a difference. And nobody could ever take the place of my daughter. Or even think of replacing her in my life. You have abandoned her, Charlie. Eleazar commented. The smart thing would be to let the past remain in the past. I haven't abandoned her. I spoke through gritted teeth, glaring at the man. She was an adult. She no longer needed me as much. And the circumstances were not in our favor. You, out of all, know that. Tanya was relentless in her attempts to convince me to become one of them as soon as possible. The guilt of divulging the secret to a human too much for her to bear. She was close to breaking down and I could not let that happen. She was my wife. I loved her. If being a vampire was all she asked from me, I would gladly give her that too. But, every coin has two sides to it, the good and the bad. Bella could not be involved in the secret, and Tanya had been a vampire for more than a millennium. Bella was safe in her company. I couldn't guarantee the same for my presence, now. I had been informed that I would be functioning on only my instincts for at least the first year of being a vampire, Bella being food for me being the first of those instincts. I could not risk it. I would not have been able to live with myself had something happened to her. Had I accidentally harmed her in any which way. Creating distance between us was hard yet required. I had to let her go. I had to pretend to not want her in my life. I had to purposefully break the bridge down. It was needed. I wish there had been any other choice. And after that first year had ended, when I had finally returned to my senses aware of who I was and what I wanted from life, I had been too ashamed to contact her, or even to ask Alice to find her. I had abandoned my daughter. What right did I even have to want her back into my life? What would I even say? I had no words to correctly apologize. But the truth remained that I wanted her back into my life. She was my blood. The little girl I had held in my arms minutes after she was born. She was the reason for me to become a parent. I could never not want her in my life. I agree I had made a terrible mistake by abandoning her, but maybe the bridges could still be mended. She already knew our secret. If only I could get her back to safety. Don't even think about it, Charlie. Irina warned, aware of where my thoughts were heading. She is in Volterra. I am not going in there. And neither should you. Everyone has their own destiny to face. Maybe this is her destiny. You can't be serious now. I glared at her, pin-drop silence dominating the room. This is my daughter we are talking about. Or have you forgotten that? Had this been one of your sisters, would you have the same answer to provide? I highly doubt it. It is different, she unapologetically muttered, shaking her head in defiance. How? I demanded to know, appalled by her arrogance. How was this any different? Wasn't my daughter as important as her family? Did she mean to state that? Charlie, Irina, please, Carmen pleaded, looking between the two of us. We are family. Let's not forget that. What Irina means to say is, this could be risky. You think I don't know that already? I questioned, folding my arms over my chest. I completely understand the risks, but they have my daughter captive. Tell me, Carmen, could you live with not helping your daughter when she asked for the help? Carmen was the most maternal out of all the women in this coven, having been pregnant when her sire had forcefully changed her, resulting in her losing her child, and by association, her planned future. She still blamed her estranged sire for that. Let's not be sentimental here, Kate commented, waving a hand in the air. To clarify, I am not against helping anyone. Charlie, you are like an older brother to me, and I would gladly fight the world if you needed the help, but I agree with Tanya, too. We need to be sure that Bella does need our help. Let's not rule out the possibility that she could be lying. Bella's not lying. I frowned, spitting the words out. Why would any sane person even lie about something of this sort? What would she even achieve from doing so? And why construct this massive lie, if what you are suspecting is true? We don't know that, Tanya whispered. But I can't lose you, Charlie. I have waited for you for so long. I took her head in my hands, softly kissing her on the lips, assuring her that my safety was never at risk. I wasn't leaving her and going. Not now and not ever. I can confirm if Bella is actually in the castle or not. Eleazar suggested. I still have a few contacts in there. Contacts who are loyal to me without letting Arrow know of it. Fine. I gave in my agreement, aware that every eye in the room was on me at the moment. But if my daughter is in there, I did not need to complete the sentence. It was as obvious as the day. I wasn't abandoning my Bella for a second time. It may have been 5 long years since I had seen her last, but time meant nothing in front of family. I wanted her back into my life, and I was willing to do anything to make that happen. Anything. Elazar nodded his head in assent. His phone removed from his pant pocket as he dialed in a few quick digits, putting the phone up to his ear, silence once again settling over the room. Hello. Yes, Chelsea, how are you doing these days? Yes, oh good, I have been good too. I called you for a reason, actually. My sources informed me that a human has been taken captive. Oh. Is it? Marcus did. Unbelievable. No, I am not planning to visit Volterra. Not anytime soon. Yes, I will talk to you later. So, I demanded from him as soon as he ended the phone call, quite frankly annoyed from being a witness to that one-sided conversation of his. Bella is he paused, framing the sentence in his head, the minutes going by slow as I waited for him to speak. Marcus has taken her captive. Marcus has. Tanya's mouth suddenly dropped open, a reaction that was mirrored by all the other women in the room. Why? No one knows that. Elazar shook his head in response. At least not anyone in the guard. They are still waiting for orders. What does this mean for us? I questioned, puzzled by his words. I did not know much about this Marcus, but did he generally not do such stuff to garner such shock? Charlie. Tanya sighed. Marcus is the least volatile out of the 3 masters. This is not good news. If Marcus too becomes like the other 2, violent and egoistic, our world will become a dangerous place. What does this mean for my daughter? I waved a hand in air, more concerned about her safety than anything else. I guess Tanya stuttered through her words. I can call Carlisle and ask for a favor. But we are not fighting. We will go in there with the intention of talking to try to convince them to let Bella free. What happens after that we will see. I slowly nodded my head, scratching my jaw, as I thought of contingency plans, and backup plans. Some involving talk, and some not so much talk. I was going to rescue my daughter, bringing her home with me. And no one could stop me from doing so. Bella's POV. I should tell him. I need to tell him. He needs to know. I can't spring this up on him, taking him by surprise. That would be very, very wrong, not to forget dangerous. I hardly know the man. What if he does not take to it kindly? No, Marcus was not the kind to get angry or violent. He would much rather be sad and disappointed. And in a way, that was much, much worse. Seeing him sad felt like my heart breaking over and over again, roughly stomped over as it shattered into a billion trillion pieces. I really needed to tell him before it was too late to rectify and apologize for. He needs to know what I have done. I would bear the anger in his eyes, or that feeling of being betrayed and not trusting him enough. It would still be better than speaking up when shit hits the metaphorical fan. If only by a slight. Marcus was a mature and patient man. He knew his brothers well. He would know how to cover up for my impatience and hasty decision. He would get us out of this. Probably. He would use it to his advantage. He was indeed searching for allies, maybe. Yes, let's be hopeful. He would probably thank me for taking this step. I had just accelerated the process of us getting out of here, getting our allies to our doorstep. And that was a good thing, right? Yes, he would be appreciative of my decision. It would all work out in our favor. Fingers crossed. Bella, Corin smirked, pulling me out of my thoughts, coming to a smooth stop in front of me, my eyes wide as I waited for her to continue speaking, slightly perturbed by her sudden presence. The masters have demanded your presence in the throne room. They have specifically instructed me to pull you by the hair if you protest in the slightest. The extreme delight on her face was more even disturbing, and I quickly looked away, my words an incoherent stutter as I attempted to make sense of them. Why? Where is Marcus? I need to talk to him. It is urgent. The time to talk is now over. She folded her arms over her chest in defiance, seeking undeniable pleasure from my discomfort. And from the looks of it, Master Arrow will do the talking now. Nobody but him standing in the center of the massive throne room. Oh, how he loves that. Wait, silly me, she creepily giggled. Did I forget to inform you? We have visitors currently in the throne room. Specifically asked to meet you. Took Master Arrow by quite the surprise. The entire castle heard his gasp. Oh, no, this could not be happening to us. I was yet to talk to Marcus. It had been only a day since I had spoken to Charlie. How could they be here this soon? Didn't they need the time to pack and book a flight or something, anything? No, it could not be them. I was clueless on how vampires traveled, but irrespective, this was too soon for it to be him. But then who was this unknown guest? Where was Marcus when you need him? Walk faster. Corin pushed me through the narrow corridors, a hand on my back as she demanded complete obedience from me, my mouth tightly shut as I, the prisoner, followed her towards what possibly could be my doom. No, I had to remain positive. Hope was all I had with me. This was nothing. It was just a false alarm. Corin, Sulpicia whispered in fright, her and Athenadora coming to my rescue, their shadowy figures engulfing my warm hand in their cold one. What is happening? Where are you taking her? Does Arrow know of this? Did you just ask me that? Corin snorted in amusement. Well, considering he issued the order, I am rather confident he knows of it. And it is not just her who is currently under surveillance, Corin evilly winked. I have specific orders to pull the two of you two by the hair, your presence ordered in the throne room. Excuse me, Athenadora was always the braver one in the two. How dare you talk to us in that tone? We are the wives. Have you forgotten that? You will be punished for this misbehavior. Corin laughed in utter indifference, taking all three of us by surprise. What was happening here? Corin never disobeyed the wives. It was a serious offense. Were the masters to find out of it, there would be serious repercussions to bear. If what I hear is true, your good days have now come to an end. Can't say I'll miss tending after your sorry ass. She finished with a smirk, silence prevailing as we followed her through the corridors. Out of the tower and in the castle, our breaths bated as we waited for the tornado, having disturbed our somewhat peace, unable to come to terms with Corin's declaration. What were the masters planning? Why were we being treated like criminals out to be given our punishment? Was Marcus aware of this? He had to be. Nothing was a secret in the castle. Where was he then? Why hadn't he come to our rescue? He would speak up against something this serious and dangerous, wouldn't he? He had to. He couldn't remain quiet while I was executed like a nothing through the hands of his own brothers. I believed in him enough to know that. Sulpicia, I whispered in her ear, do you think Arrow knows about what we did? Shish, she silenced me, undeniable fear evident in her tone. He will kill me, and not just kill me. He will torture every part of mine before finally giving me the sweet relief. Let's just hope, for your sake and mine, that you are wrong, and that he is still clueless. Would he? Why was I still surprised? This was Arrow we were talking about. He was definitely capable of the worst imaginable. Bella, Athenadora took my hand in hers. I am scared, she cried out. Keys would replace me in a heartbeat. He doesn't care about me. Why else would he lock me up in this tower? He doesn't even bother to visit. There was nothing I could say to that, her misery heartbreaking. The only thing I could offer her being assurance, and so that's what I did. We need to be hopeful. I squeezed both of their hands tight. I had never had anyone to call a sister, the two of them being the closest I had to one. Our mates, they love us. I gulped, nodding my head to myself. We need to believe in them. We need to believe in our destiny. We will come out untouched through this. Let's remain optimistic. I am scared. Me too. It is probably nothing. I lied, adding a humorless chuckle, their mirrored frowns depicting their disbelief. I trust Marcus, if nothing else. There was nothing more I had on my side. It wasn't a favorable situation, even I was aware of that. But I wasn't going to break down and shed tears of hopelessness and despair. I would wait to see what this was about. I wasn't as naive to believe that this was something good. How bad, though, was yet up to debate. We are almost there, Corin announced, pushing open the massive doors I had seen only once before. My eyes wide as I noticed the audience awaiting our presence, pin-drop silence commanding the massive-sized room. Everyone was here: Arrow, Keys, Marcus, the entire guard consisting of several unnamed unimportant vampires, and my father, Tanya, and the Cullen clan standing right behind him. Oh, he was here. He had come to my rescue. And at the moment, I wasn't sure whether to be happy or upset by this development. That would mean Arrow knew, right? Why was he grinning then? You could never tell with the psychopath. Bella, Charlie whispered, unshed tears lining his eyes. He looked the same, and yet he looked so very different. His eyes were creepily yellow, the color of shit. And had this not been a serious situation, I would have cried out laughing. I mean, who was satisfied with eyes that resembled poop similar to diarrhea? And what's with the freaky paleness and creepy stillness? This modification definitely did not suit him. Oh, there's Tanya. Now, I get it, she wants everyone to look like her. So that she doesn't look creepy and scary alone. Smart move, I would say. Dad, I hesitantly responded. I wasn't close to tearing up, not by a whole mile. Let's be honest here, I hardly knew the man. Sure, he was my father and all, but we had never shared any bond that suggested so. We had been strangers living together, and while I could respect or tolerate his presence, I wasn't keen on jumping into his open arms anytime soon. The ship for that had sailed decades ago. He should have been there for me while I was growing up if he did want to witness such a reaction from me. It was too late now. Instead, I locked eyes with Marcus, sitting on his throne with his head in his hands, the disappointment visible on his face stilling me at my place. Wonderful. He was upset. What had I even been thinking? Had I seriously believed that he would be happy to be blindsided in this manner? Welcome. Arrow stood up at his place, a wide grin on his face. Sulpy, Dora and Bella, our special guests for tonight. I frowned at him in question. What was he up to now? Why wasn't anyone stopping him? As everyone here already knows, he continued, his eyes sparkling in amusement. The unknown excites me. Yeah, right. And even more than that, I await a reason to celebrate. Life is one never-ending party, is what I believe in. Can I scoff or laugh out loud? Please. And today is one such day to celebrate. My old friend, Carlyle, has come to visit, bringing with him our dear Marcus's mate, Bella's family. I ignored the several gasps that were heard throughout the room, my eyes trained on Arrow. As he continued, to celebrate my joy and utter happiness, I declare a party in this very throne room tonight. Our guest of honor of course being our beautiful wives. Bella's POV. Do you really believe that Arrow had a change of heart and set us free? I turned to look at Athenadora, an eyebrow raised in amusement. Of course not. Can you see an idiot tattooed on my forehead? She smiled, waving me off. Aren't you worried, then? I wouldn't get it past that man to construct some slimy plan that benefits him and only him. I nodded my head in agreement. I know, but at the moment, just relieved to be out of that jail. Can't say that I will miss it. She let out a laugh. Well, I am seeing the rising sun after 2 millennia, you have no clue how good it feels. I smiled in response, her happiness almost contagious. Sulpicia is in Arrow's study. Yeah, Athenadora offered me a nod. Arrow suggested she go through some of his official documents, something Rieger. Ding a coven that is unwilling to cooperate. He wanted Sulpicia's advice on how to proceed. Did he actually open his mouth and say so? Arrow asking for help. Now that was unheard of. She grinned in agreement. I was shocked too. And so was Sulpicia, from the looks of it. She has humored him at the moment, but I have my doubts on how long this personality change of Arrow will last. It is so unlike him. Almost unbelievable. I hummed in response. He has something on his mind, that's for sure. But truly, we are free. Aren't you the least bit happy? Of course, I am. She rolled her eyes at me. You have no idea how happy and relieved I am, even if I now have to see Keys's face at least once every hour. Gosh, how much does that man sulk? Is there any end to it? It is exhausting to just watch his face and tolerate his childish tantrums. I smiled, letting her continue speaking, but Bella, I am also worried. Arrow, he is insane. He would stop at nothing to achieve his goal. This she sighed, looking me into the eyes. Dread evident in them. I don't know what he is planning, but it is not good. And that scares me. I let out a sigh, squeezing her hand tight. We can worry all we want. It is not going to change the future. So, why not relax and take each moment as it comes? She nodded her head in agreement, gulping. Let's just be cautious, okay? Always. I shrugged, a sigh leaving my lips. Quick question. Did Chelsea appear at your doorstep with a bunch of clothes, makeup and heels? Yeah, she admitted. Scared me to no extent, the way she appeared out of thin air. I giggled, agreeing with her. It was so creepy. 1 second, I was staring at the wall, and boom, the next second she is standing in front of me with a wide grin on her face. She told me her name after I had alerted the entire castle with my screams. Did she tell you that Arrow had sent her with the command to assist you in whatever you need? She told you that too. I raised an eyebrow in question. Yeah, Athenadora hesitantly stated. It is so strange. It feels as if Arrow actually cares about our feelings. Well, miracles do happen. They may seem impossible to think of, but yet, here we are. She grinned, shrugging. Let's just hope this miracle brings good things for us. So far it has. I pointed out. We are out of the dungeon. I hope it stays so. She nervously stated. I don't want to ever go back in there. Me too. I let out a sigh, my eyes staring into nothingness. Bella, may I talk to you in private? I turned to look at Marcus, a smile on my face, Athenadora excusing herself. As I offered Marcus my undivided attention. How could you hide something like this from me? He accused me, anger and disappointment evident on his face. Do you know how horrible I feel at the moment? It feels as if you don't trust me at all. I winced, aware that I deserved the lashing. He had every right to be angry on me. I am sorry. I was going to tell you. When? He demanded. After your father rescued you or before? Marcus. No, Bella. His tone held a finality unlike ever seen before. You are my mate and as such, I respect and value you, but this is too much to ignore. You betrayed my trust. You went against me. I brought us allies. I protested, slightly miffed by his accusations. Wasn't that what you wanted? The end result had been in our favor. Why was he still cribbing? Of course, I did. He hastily admitted. And I am glad for that. But I would have been gladder had you told me that you had called for help. This feels as if you could not wait to get away from me. It is not like that. I winced, somewhat deep down aware that that is exactly what I had attempted to do. I had tried to get away from him, that being my second biggest motivation in placing that call to Charlie. The first of course being getting away from that prison that had held me a prisoner. You don't need to lie. Marcus shook his head in sadness, reading the truth on my face. I had believed that the mate bond would be enough to bridge all gaps between us, but maybe not. He paused, shutting his eyes tight before opening them up again and looking at me. I won't hold you a captive. You are free to go. What do you mean? My voice was quivering as I forced the words out of my mouth, unable to believe that I had actually heard them being spoken. He sighed, letting out a deep breath. You will not be troubled henceforth. If you wish to return with your father, you will let me go. I finished the sentence for him, doubtfully pronouncing every syllable. Yes, he admitted. This is it, Bella Swan. Our roads diverge here. I will always love you, but I would rather not force you to accept my love. You will let me go. Was he serious? This was no joke, right? I promise you will never be troubled by me again. Just one request, leave after tonight's celebration. I don't believe in creating a scene. I shrugged, waving him off. I understand, and that's the least I can do. You are a good man, Marcus. I just wish I had been more accepting of who you are. He offered me a sad smile. We each have our destiny to face. And maybe this is mine. Goodbye, Bella Swan. I smiled at his retreating form. My goodbye murmured by the passing wind. Bella's POV. And this is my mate, Bella. Marcus plastered a smile on his face, a hand on my lower back as he pretended to be happy and in love. Anyone knowing him easily able to see through the transparent facade. Hi, I awkwardly smiled, playing my part, the creepy vampire with sticky black hair and eerie blood-red eyes. Offering me a half-smile in return, one that screamed that the invitation to this party wasn't accepted by choice. So, Marcus tells me that you live in Egypt. What's that like? What's it like to live in Italy? He threw my words back at me, taking me by surprise. Well, I nervously glanced at the stranger in question. I was only trying to make conversation. I guess I wouldn't know. I have not left the castle much since meeting Marcus. I apologetically concluded, running a hand through my hair. You can count my answer as to be the same. He answered in a monotone, walking away from me. My eyes wide as I stared at his retreating form. What the hell just happened here? Ignore Amen. Marcus sighed, shaking his head to himself. He thinks and behaves different. You could say that again. I quipped in agreement, turning to look at him. So, what's his deal? He doesn't seem to like you people much. Much, Marcus snorted. He hates us. End of story. Ever since Dimitri joined our coven back in the last millennia, Amun has assumed that we are his enemies, out to harm him. Reality being that Dimitri willingly joined us as he was being suffocated by Amun's controlling nature and untrusting behavior. Anyhow, Amun wouldn't have been here, had it not been for his coven member, Benjamin. Benjamin is an extremely powerful asset. He can manipulate the natural elements, i.e. Stand in awe as Marcus continued speaking. A few years ago, one of our own had accidentally stumbled across Benjamin, reporting his power to Arrow. Arrow had, needless to mention, wanted him for our guard. His greed overpowering every other sane thought, but Benjamin had refused, coming up with an offer of sorts. You see, he does not believe in violence and had offered to assist the Volturi whenever required in exchange for his freedom. His only condition being that he wouldn't be the one to kill the other vampire. Moving forward, he has even been the catalyst for a somewhat cordial relationship between the Egyptian coven and us. Had it not been on his insistence, Amun wouldn't have accepted our invitation today. I nodded my head, thinking over his words. I hadn't expected so many people vampires to be here today. There were more than 100 of them in here. Well, I had expected a small gathering from what Arrow had hinted at. This is rather grand. The Volturi doesn't do anything small. Marcus sighed, shrugging. And Arrow has a penchant for flamboyance. Yeah, I got that. I waved a hand in air. But how did so many vampires even reach here this soon? He sent out the invites this afternoon. Marcus let out a short laugh, cute not offensive. We can run faster than a cheetah. It isn't that unbelievable a feat. Maybe not, I stated, still unable to believe that 100+ vampires, across the world, would not only accept the invitation but also turn up in Italy within a few hours of the invite being sent. It was super strange. So, that's Amun of the Egyptian coven, who you just met. Marcus pointed towards the 4 vampires huddled together in a distance, a nod of the head being his clue to continue. That's the Irish coven, and that's Garrett, a nomad, who introduced himself to us sometime in the last century. I wouldn't call him a friend, but he is neither an enemy. He chooses his loyalty rather wisely. You already know Carlyle and his family. Marcus, I interrupted him, hesitantly meeting his eyes. What happens after this? Where do I go from here? I don't understand. He stared at me in question. I thought you were planning to return with your father. I scoffed at that, lowering my voice down to a whisper. Oh, please, like I would ever willingly share a roof with that queen of the bitches Tanya. But that's not what I meant. I am planning to go back home. To my home. But can I really do that? All these vampires, they now know who I am. Am I at any risk? I would rather not become food. I emphasized on my words, this question haunting me since hours now. Surely leaving this castle would mean freedom, but was I really getting free? It had been different earlier. I had been a complete stranger to the supernatural world. What if some random vampire were to get offended by my knowledge of his or her world? Deciding to rectify the error made by a human being in the knowing. I would rather not see myself in such a dangerous situation. Marcus sighed, carefully placing his words together. I understand your worry, and now that you have mentioned it, it is indeed a worrisome thought. We are no less of enemies. And tracing one human is no hard task. He paused, shutting his eyes briefly. You will not be alone henceforth. Excuse me, I raised an eyebrow in question. What I meant is, he instantly clarified, I will assign a bodyguard for you. Whoever you are comfortable with. Wherever you go, he will follow, for the rest of your life. Let me guess, a bodyguard of the vampire variety? I skeptically questioned. Of course. He shrugged in obviousness. I rolled my eyes in annoyance. So much for walking away unscathed from the supernatural world. Look, I gulped. I need to think about this. I am not completely on board with having someone trail me for the rest of my life, as is expected. But at the same time, I am aware that I am out of choices here. Just can I give you my answer at the end of tonight? I needed time to think about this. It wasn't an easy decision to make. On one hand, I was agreeing to compromise on my privacy, or it was my safety at risk. Neither of which I was willing to sacrifice on. Of course. He nodded his head in response. I offered him a half smile, his attention diverted as he stared at something in the distance. Who invited them here? He spat the words out. Unfamiliar disdain evident on his face. I specifically mentioned to Arrow that they not be invited. I can't believe he went against me. The two people in question seemed out of place as they walk in through the grand doors of the throne room, awkwardly awaiting a welcome. Marcus, who are they? I inquired, nervously looking up at him. The Romanians. Marcus rudely scowled. The murderers of my Didim. Why would Arrow invite them? I can't believe this. He knows how I feel about this. Oh, I gulped, my eyes downwards as I thought of what to say in such a situation, nothing coming to mind. I need to talk to Arrow, Marcus stated, hastily walking away, leaving me there behind, alone surrounded by unfamiliar faces. I let out a sigh, deciding to put up my brave face, as I walked around the room. Smiling at those who smiled back, and quickly walking past those who seemed terrifying and unfriendly. Hello, I am Stefan. A short vampire with dark brown hair and creepily pale skin introduced himself. Coming to a stop in front of me. And this is my brother, Vladimir. It is a pleasure to meet you. I smiled back at the two, aware that these were the infamous Romanian coven that Marcus had been referring to. Slightly confused and wary by their insistence to talk to me in Marcus's absence. We have been long acquaintances with Marcus and the rest of the brothers. Vladimir spoke, his smile wide and eerie. Your presence is nothing less than a miracle for our world. I offered him a half smile, having nothing to comment on that. He seemed okay. Both the brothers did. In fact, they seemed in awe of the three brothers. I couldn't get a single hint of deceit from either of their faces. Were they pretending to be good, or was Marcus the one in the dark here? Thank you. Well, enjoy the party, I guess. I waved a hand in air, ignoring the fact that human blood was freely flowing through the massive fountain built in the center of the room, the guests of the Volturi really shing in it as they roamed all around it like flies to light. Yuck, how was I this comfortable with blood being drank? I would never know. It probably had something to do with Didim's soul, but either way, I couldn't be any more glad for that fact. Imagine the embarrassment I would have to face were I to faint at the first sight of blood. Oh, Bella, I looked up, an eyebrow raised as I waited for Stefan to continue speaking. Can we talk to you in private? Please. I should have declined. It was the obvious answer. But their eyes, they weren't evil. Could I trust them? Okay. I reluctantly agreed, following them through the narrow corridors heading out of the throne room, my eyes turning back every few seconds as I contemplated over whether this was a mistake or not. What did you want to talk to me about? I finally stopped walking, awaiting their answer. The thing is, Stefan began to speak. We are not the enemy. We don't know who killed Didim, but it was not us. We have nothing to do with this. Yes, we had attacked the brothers, but since the destruction of our coven, we are aware that we are safer being allies than enemies. If only Marcus would understand this. We want to be friends. Hold on. I put a hand up in confusion. Why tell me this? Why not tell Marcus directly? Because he won't listen to us. Vladimir spat the words out. We have tried, but he just won't give us the chance to talk. Arrow understands. That is why he has called us here today. I gave out a sigh, shutting my eyes in annoyance. Look, I am not Marcus's secretary. Your efforts are going in vain here. I don't have a say in who he listens to, so you are better off talking to him directly. If that was all, gentlemen, please excuse me. Saying so, I turned my back on them, walking back towards the throne room. Making probably the biggest mistake of my life so far, as the next thing I know, a thick cloth was covering my eyes, my screams wasted as I was dragged through the narrow corridors of the castle. Bella's POV. Bella. Bella. Please wake up. It is urgent. Come on, kiddo. I have just got you back. Don't do this to me. Kiddo. That was such an unfamiliar term of endearment. No one ever called me kiddo. Sure, there had been the occasional baby, sweetheart, honey, or love. But never kiddo. Renee preferred to call me by my chosen nickname Bella, adhering to my wishes. And Charlie, oh, yes, he was the one to call me kiddo. At times, it wasn't used very frequently. Majorly, he called me Bells, at home or in front of visitors. Kiddo was only reserved foe. Are the days when his guilt for abandoning me as a kid threatened to overpower him, the days when he realized what a terrible father he had been while I was growing up, for the moments when he remembered how he had let his innocent daughter down, over and over again. Kiddo was for those moments, fewer since he met Tanya. Tanya had somehow managed to convince him that the past was irrelevant, that Hi's behavior towards me while I was growing up was long forgotten, and that if he pretended to be a good father in the present, it would become a reality. Like that could actually happen. You cannot erase the past, no matter how much you wish to do so. Anyhow, coming back to the point, what was Charlie doing here? Why was he in my house? How did he even locate me? Not even Renee had my actual address, she never bothered to ask. The few times that we spoke being all about her interesting life. And no one from my old life had details of my current life. Then, how had he traced me? And how did he even get into my house? Had he broken the lock and entered? Geez, did he not know that that was a crime? He was an ex-cop, for heaven's sake. I needed to show him that this was not okay. He may be my father, but I wasn't willing to tolerate such undesired behavior. He could have rung the bell, I would have opened the door. Maybe we could have even had a decent conversation. Oh, no, wait, I wasn't at home. I was. The memories came flooding through. The past few days, my dreaded tsunami, my eyes blinking open as the last and final memory of a cloth covering my eyes appeared in the forefront of my mind. Careful, I was warned right before the white shiny light barged into my sleep-filled eyes, the warning appearing a tad second too late to be appreciated. Ouch, I cried out, wincing as I shut my eyes tight. Slowly, Bells. Charlie sighed in annoyance. These lights are tortuous. You want to go slow, believe me on that. This time, I took his advice, nodding my head briefly, pushing open my eyes. Slowly and as gently as could be, the white light still equally painful, but thankfully offering my eyes the opportunity to adjust to it. Dad, I stared at him in question, the man kneeling over my sleeping form. A tired frown on his face as he tirelessly attempted to get me back to normal. Look around you, Bella. He did not need to tell me twice. My eyes searched through the small shabby room. The walls dark and dirt-stained, a small single bed, its legs thin and exposed, the only furniture visible in the room. Apart from that, there was nothing. Not even a single dresser, or an attached washroom. The only door in the room tightly locked from the outside, refusing to barge and give way for us to head towards our freedom. Where are we, Dad? I mumbled in a scared whisper. This place, wherever I was eerily similar to the tower, and yet at the same time, worse. Much, much worse. That seemed like a 5-star resort in comparison to this. More so, due to the dark years and death sentence type vibe that this place generated. I don't know, Bells. Charlie expressionlessly mumbled. I woke up some time back. Strange, considering I don't sleep. Or rather, I couldn't before today. Anyhow, the last thing I remember is being introduced to a vampire named Alec. That's his power. I let out a gasp. He can numb your senses. Oh, Charlie frowned. That would explain how I could sleep. Why are we here, Dad? I seemed like a terrified child, afraid that the invisible monsters would gobble me up. Where are we? I don't have any answer to that. Charlie gulped. I can't sense anything. My senses are so dull. I feel like a human again. I can't hear anything out of the ordinary, or sense anything that would clue me in as to where we are. Whoever has do. Nay, this they know what they were doing. I know who has done this. I let out a breath. It is Stefan and Vladimir, of the Romanian coven. They have an old vengeance against the Volturi. No, Bella. Charlie cut me off. It is not them. How was he so sure of that? Dad, you don't understand. Bella, hear me clearly. It is not the Romanian coven that is responsible for this. Stefan is a good friend of Tanya's. I know him personally. He is someone I can trust wholeheartedly. He would never do something of this sort. But he did. I waved my hands in the air, trying to convince him that he was misguided. I was talking to him. Dad, he conned me into following him out of the throne room. How else do you explain that? Charlie seemed out of words. I don't know why he did this, but I am sure he had a reason for it. Anyhow, Think logically. Had Stefan been involved, why would I be here with you? I am not a part of the Volturi. He did have a point, I hated to admit. He's right. I turned. Stefan and Vladimir exiting the shadows, their faces equally exhausted and confused, an unanswered question in their eyes. We have nothing to do with this. Vladimir spoke up, waving a hand between him and Stefan. Just like Charlie admitted, we woke up some time back, too. We don't know how we landed here or. You were talking to me when I was kidnapped. I accused him, desperate to bring his crime out to light. I refused to believe his sorry tale. Not for a second time in a row. Yes, Stefan admitted, but that is the last thing we can remember, too. Our senses were cut off, just like Charlie mentioned. We have nothing to do with this. Please believe us. We genuinely wanted to be friends with the brothers. Our intentions are good. Why would Alec do this? I took my head in my hands. This one question swirling through my mind on repeat. What could he have against us? Why us four? It makes no sense. Yes, because he is not the one to do this. Charlie mumbled to himself, an unfamiliar realization shining in his eyes. Excuse me. I stared at him in question. What I mean is, he instantly clarified, yes, Alec did numb our senses and bring us here, but it wasn't his decision to do so. He was just following orders. The mastermind is someone else. Arrow. There was no other explanation required, that one word coming to mind almost instantly and effortlessly. He had done this. Arrow had taken his revenge. I had tried to escape his clutches. He had locked me up with the one person I was placing my hopes on. This being his ultimate master plan. Sulpicia and Adon. Adora had warned me that Arrow could go to any extent to prove himself superior and almighty, and he had crossed all lines today, proving them correct. Why us? But, Stefan questioned. We have hardly spoken to the brothers in the past millennia. Why hold us a captive here in this locked room, the door made of a material not even we can break? What would he achieve from that? Because I needed an innocent little guinea pig to take the burden of my mistakes on their head. A familiar voice appeared out of nowhere, my eyes soon locating the sole loudspeaker in the room. Arrow's displeasing voice muttered through the microphone. You, my dear, are my guinea pig. History will repeat itself once again, with the death of the vulnerable human and her dearest selfless father falling on your dirty, blood-stained hands. And then, I will prove victorious, by killing the two of you, and showing the world that nobody messes with Arrow. If you do, you die a slow, painful death. Just like Didim did. That idiot had decided to go against me. He scoffed in disgust. She was locked here, in this very room, for 300 years of her existence. What did she achieve? Nothing. Finally, she begged me to end her sorry existence. You killed her, I whispered in shock and disbelief. He was responsible for Didim's death. Not the Romanian coven. Marcus. Poor Marcus. He had been lied to for all these years. And I will kill you too. It wasn't a warning or a threat. It was a promise. Bella's POV. I was born to be free, not to be a bird with their wings clipped. Marcus tells me that I need to work on my poetry writing skills. I agree with him. He says that for a person with as much charm, my poetry isn't as worthy of being cherished. I reckon though that it would get any better. I have lived a while now, and if it hasn't improved in all these decades, the scope of its betterment lay lesser than one could hope or wish for. Saying that I miss him would be an understatement. He is a part of me, and for as long as Arrow deems my life worthy of continuing, Marcus will remain in every thought that I consume. He is in the air that surrounds me, in the wind that howls its presence every time I peek out of the smaller than small window provided in the room. He is in my dead heart. If only I knew a way to contact him. I don't know what he believes happened to me. I trust him to know that I wouldn't have abandoned him. That's a thought that could never cross my mind, not even in the last second that my eyes remain open. I suspect Arrow lying to him, a story made up to convince my husband to end this world that I left by choice, or rather I have died. Marcus wouldn't give up on me, were Arrow to simply state that I left. No, my husband and I share one soul, and the body could never survive without its soul. At times, I imagine reuniting with him. I dream of him breaking down this single door that holds me a captive and pulling me into his strong arms, kissing every fear and worry of mine away. As he promised to never let us be apart. Alas, if only my dreams had a way of becoming reality. I should have paid more attention to Arrow and his growing greed. I had seen him grow up, and as his age increased, so did his desire to conquer the world and have everyone bow down to him. He was severely dissatisfied with what we had, or what I could provide for him. No, he always wanted more. Was I to give him one fruit, he would want two. No thought given to whether he was even hungry for two, it was always about more the better with him. I had ignored his maniacal greed, convincing myself that he was simply a child. And this was a phase. Had I known what my blunder would do to him, I would have punished him there and then. I would have assured that his nip be cut in the bud itself. Old have ensured that Marcus be harsher on him. Marcus was older and wiser. He did not need to bow down to every ridiculous whim of Arrow. He believed that he was being a good brother, but truly he was doing our brother no favors. Had he been stricter, had we been more cautious, had we recognized the devil resting in Arrow's eyes, I probably wouldn't have been here today. I had begged Marcus to leave with me. I had warned him of the danger heading our way. I could sense it. He had refused to believe me though. He was determined to see the good in every being, refusing to admit that not every soul can be rescued from damnation. I had tried to convince him of otherwise. I had begged, pleaded, blackmailed, anything and everything. All I wanted was to leave the castle for good. I did not want the power, or the position of being the rulers of a kind. I did not desire the money, or the jewels that lay unattended in my room. Marcus believed they offered me happiness. I did not have the heart to reveal the truth to him. For me, happiness lay in the smaller things. I liked to be free. I liked to sit on the wet grass as the afternoon sun sprinkled its beautiful rays on my marble-like skin. I liked to read a book, or to paint, or to write poetry, even I wasn't any good at it. Marcus was the artist between us. He was the one with the magical hands, be it a piano or a piece of wood that needed to be carved. Marcus was someone you could trust to deliver better than even imagined. I knew that I was luckier than I should have been. Living with Marcus, being married to him, I could only have hoped to find a man as perfect and loyal as him. Back when he had approached me, his gift guiding him to me, I had been skeptical to his advances. My parents, or any married couple that I had seen before, had lived in an adjustment. The woman tended to the family and the domestic chores, while the man provided with the necessities for the family to live comfortably. There was no desire in the equation, no passion or want for the other's mind, body and soul. I hadn't imagined any different for myself. I had believed that I would live a life as unimportant as the generations before me had. I hadn't even thought that my body would be worshipped one day, that I would realize what passion is, or how it feels to crave someone's body. I had always craved Marcus's mind from the very first day that I had known him. But craving his body was something unimaginable. It feels like a sin. Marcus states otherwise. The several ways in which he makes love to me, it could never be a sin. The things he does to me, that feeling of sheer bliss as he enters me first slowly and then that rocking movement with his hands on my waist. I play around with the mole on his back. He does not like it when my hips are arched. He considers it a distraction. He likes to play with my lady parts, worships them in a way nobody should. I was wary in the beginning of having his mouth so close to my modesty. My mother would be appalled were she to know that I agreed to a sin of this kind. She had always educated us that making love was for the purpose of reproduction, and it was a simple enough process with a man's part entering the woman's modesty. There was no requirement or scope for experimentation. Anything other than that was a sin in her eyes. I had tried sticking to her views in the beginning of our marriage, unwilling to disappoint her in the other world that she lived, but a naked Marcus could be rather persuasive, and I had given in, agreeing to every experiment that he deemed worthy. Not to say that it wasn't pleasurable. It rather was, and Marcus was a rather giving lover. The hours that we spent in our bedroom, our legs tangled as we laughed and shared the love that we held for the other. I could never not wish to be in his arms. I was a part of him, as much as he was of mine. I don't know for how long I shall see the sun rise, or the moon return to where it came from. It could be a few hours now, a day, a year, or even a whole millennium, my end a permanent event that resided in my future. Arrow had proved himself unreliable and merciless. He had forgotten that we shared blood and that killing me wouldn't change his destiny. For I believe with my entire dead heart that I will return. I don't know the when or the form in which it will be. It could be 1,000 years from today, but all I know is that nothing is permanent. And that Arrow's tyranny too has an end. And that I will be the one to end it. I will be the one to push the pointed dagger into his chest as he cried for mercy. I'll be the one to rip apart every body part of his and throw it into the raging fire, smiling as he burnt in the torture that he forced upon everyone he considered a threat. He has destroyed several lives before he decided to play with mine. And I in the form of karma will return someday, vowing revenge for every evil doing of his. I will be strong. I will be his equal. I will not hold any sympathy in my eyes for him. I will end his miserable existence with my very hands, that day being my ultimate destiny. But in order to see that day appear, this life of mine will have to come to an end. I will have to leave. In order to be born again. It could take a few births, but my path with Marcus will cross once again. He will find me, his mate, once again. He will fall in love, dream a million dreams. And with his help will I succeed in my revenge. I will kill Arrow, and that is a promise. Bella. I looked up, tears in my eyes, as the letter that Didymus had written all those centuries ago fell from my open hands. Are you okay? I could see the sheer concern visible in his eyes, and all I could do in response was shake my head, stating that I wasn't all right. This would take some time to settle in. Dad, I whispered the word out, a million thoughts swirling through my mind at the moment. Can you change me? I need to be like you. It is important. I need to fulfill the reason for my birth. I need to keep Didymus' promise. I need to kill him, Dad. Please. Part 2 ends here.